Hello, friends. I'm here again to discuss yet another aspect of this wonderfully complex subject of the new golden age of Terra. And the subject today is, when is liberation complete? Now, we've been told that we're undergoing liberation, and in certain regards, we have been liberated. So, this is just a little bit of a musing or a riff on that subject. A series of riffs, an improvisation, noodling perhaps. I'm comparing it to what people sometimes do with the guitar. What I used to do a lot when I played guitar some time ago. I gave it up in around 1999. So I have touched a guitar a few times since then, but not to very good effect. So cutting the digression and getting to the point. Our history for a long time has been one of enslavement. So, if you look at historical situations in which slaves were freed after the American Civil War, for example, what you often find is that many of the slaves didn't quite know what to do with themselves, quite how to behave, quite how to take advantage of their newfound freedom. So, it's not all roses. But still, how many people, after being freed, would say, I want to go back to being a slave to my former master? Even if your master was a good master, so to speak, took good care of you. Most people want the freedom and the responsibility that goes with it, even if it might take them and their descendants a number of generations to make the most of that freedom. And I think that's going to be true of earthbound humanity, as I sometimes like to call it, or the Terrahu, members of the Hu consciousness collective that are specific to the planet Terra, also known by other names, Earth, Gaia, Ki. Ki is the Anunnaki name for our planet. Well, so that's a consideration to keep in mind. But specifically, we've been freed from the influence, the baleful influence of the Sikaar reptilians and the Nebu Grays. As of 2021, 2022. And what are we left with? Well, still some people that want to enslave us, but they are at least of our own species. And it seems that they're relatively incompetent without their ET masterminds working with them. They have a consciousness that is more aligned with Sakaar and the Nebu than it is with intrinsic human values. Now, how that came about um, is not up for discussion here. I could, but let's not, right? That would be a big digression. But what has to happen is that we, the people of Earth, have to deal with them. And we have certain representatives who have the necessary expertise and weaponry to take out that group. And when I say take them out, I don't necessarily mean to physically exterminate them. Whether or when that will take place remains to be seen, but simply to remove them from power and then proceed to deal with them in accord with their prior behavior, crimes against humanity, really. So all that's good news. Good news, right? But we're not home free yet. There's a war yet to be fought, or the a few remaining battles in the long war for humanity's enslavement, if a small group that considers themselves elite were to get their way, or freedom. And of course, with freedom comes responsibility, as I've already pointed out. The timing of this is very fortuitous and by design, because you might have heard that the Earth now, as the solar system orbits the center of our galaxy, um, it's kind of like the motion of the solar system is like that of a dolphin or a sine wave, right? It goes up and it goes down and it goes up and it goes down. And when it peaks up above the galactic plane, higher frequency energy reaches us and the Earth goes into an ascension cycle. What it really amounts to is the end of a Kali Yuga, the beginning of the next Kalpa. It's the technical term. uh, so people have calculated when they thought the age of Aquarius would begin, or the end of Kali Yuga. And the calculations have been all over the place and more or less clever, more or less apparently aligned with the evidence. But it turns out that according to many accounts, this energetic situation regarding the solar system and the Milky Way galaxy, or the Nataru, as our ET cousins call it, is pretty much the determining factor. So that's happening, and in order for our species to take the greatest advantage of it, we're being liberated at this time as well. So we can make the best use of the incoming ascension energies. Now, I know some people think ascension is a new age word, and it is. And there are a lot of terms that have been adopted into the new age movement. But if you go back to their origin, they made sense and they were applicable, and they still make sense and they're still applicable, even if New Agers parrot those words, and often without fully understanding them, or let's say attributing things to them that may not be real. So anyway, that's what's going on. So it could be like a feedback loop, right? So there's this positive energy coming in, helping us to raise our consciousness, our awareness, our perspicacity as to many things going on our own planet and elsewhere. And so that raising of consciousness, if you will, then leads to more freedom, and more freedom leads to more opportunities for raising consciousness. So it's a positive feedback loop, and humanity can evolve tremendously in a short time. Starting now, I mean, it's been underway for a while, but especially now that the new freedom wave is coming in, along with the wave of ascension energies, if you want to call them that. So this is all really good news, right? What else do we need to be liberated from? Well, we need to be liberated. We were liberated from the Sakaar and the Nebu, and their friends here on Earth are still bothering us and will for a while yet to come. But it can be very short, and their downfall can be very quick. Mercifully so for all concerned, including them. So what else? Well, I think we have a lot of stinking thinking about ourselves and just about every field of human knowledge. We've accumulated a lot of knowledge, haven't we? And it's doubling every, what, week or month now or something. But how much of it is true? Have you ever stopped to think about that? People people tend to assume that we're building true knowledge on true knowledge on true knowledge. Maybe that's not true. Maybe 50% of it is true, maybe only 10%. And then what are we building on in that case? Well, if we're building on a shaky and rotten foundation, at some point it could all collapse. And that hasn't happened yet, apparently. Um, there are considerations that are relevant to this issue. So here's another thing we know that what the public believes versus what is actually known by those in the know, which would not be in the public. They're two different things, right? So perhaps, uh, perhaps what the public knows is mostly garbage. Have you ever considered that? I was reading science news, science and technology news a couple of years ago on my cell phone. I would, you know, access the news and go to the science and technology section and read. And it's an interesting thing that I never took much of it very seriously. I would read an article and I would say, well, that was science fiction. Read another article, that was science fiction. Read another article, and I wouldn't be sure. And I'd say, well, maybe some of that's true and sound and really means something. And then some of it was not just science fiction, but nasty propaganda. Or that's how I saw it. And I don't think I necessarily got it right 100% of the time or even close. But I guess the point is, I was just aware that, okay, next time I go to record, I'm going to turn my cell phone off because I don't want spammers calling me while I'm trying to record a video for you, friends. Sorry that happened. See, I'm learning this YouTube thing, right? This content creation thing. Okay, so this is nonsense, and I'm turning the phone off, or at least putting it on airplane mode. There. Aren't you proud of me? Now, back to the subject. I'm sorry about that. I could edit it out, but I'm not taking the time right now to learn how to use my editing software. That's coming. That's coming. I'd rather talk. I'd rather put useful ideas in people's minds. So anyway, I think the reason the phone rang was to tell me I was elaborating too much on that subject. So there's a great clarifying that needs to take place and a great sifting and a great throwing out of garbage in science and lots of garbage in terms of what products we need and what products are good for us and what products are harmful, which is in areas of food, entertainment, medicine, and much else, right? And political ideology. Where does the liberal tendency become too extreme, and where does the conservative tendency become too extreme? It's arguable that we need, as a species, a better handle on that. Um, Religion, how much corruption and harmful nonsense is embedded in our most sacred beliefs, regardless of which type of religion we favor as one favors as an individual. And Do I need to name them? The most popular ones, and some that are less popular, but nevertheless worthy of attention. Zoroastrianism, perhaps. Um, there have been some notable Zoroastrians, right? Freddie Mercury, for one. Um, anyway, anyway, the point I would make is that we most people generally don't have an idea. They'll read science and technology news or listen to it on TV, and it just goes in and they accept it and move on, right? But I think that a large part of it should not be so readily accepted, and we should at least maintain a very skeptical attitude. And then there are parts of science that are relevant and true, but entangled with the relevant and true parts are a lot of highly questionable parts. Uh, Quantum chromodynamics. Now, I'm not an expert in that by any means, but I watched a wonderful video on it once, talking about how the equations were developed and what the different scientists involved thought about each other's work and even their own work in some cases. It's very, very, very speculative, and, you know, people trying to say that this interesting mathematical structure I've worked out in my imagination. And look, it produces results that, according to the latest measurements, which are very different from the ones before that and the ones before that, but according to the latest measurements, it's pretty close. I don't know. That doesn't fly with me. That just seems like a waste of time and a way that people gathered money for mental masturbation, if you excuse my use of that term. Anyway, anyway, we need to be freed from a lot of bad ideas and to open our arms and our hearts and our minds to the infusion of new ideas that cultures much older than ours, who haven't suffered nearly as much injected corruption as our cultures, have to share with us in terms of knowledge. So I'm talking about our cosmic cousins, or if you like the term, space brothers. You could use that. Um, and they'll be having a great impact on us. It'll be positive, but we have to also focus on retaining the good parts of our cultures. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Do not, do not, do not do that. And they'll be helping us to do that. They don't want they don't want to eradicate the uniqueness and special beauty of the many different human cultures. So, this is an optimistic channel about the new golden age of Terra. But I have to talk about the ramifications, and I want you to think about them in your spare time. Or if you want to be full time, maybe you can show me how to be a full-time futurist. I would love that. All right. Anyway, for now, I will bid you adieu. Thanks for your time. What else? Comment below if you care to. Uh, if you have a lot to say, send me an email. I'll post my email address in the description. Like if you want to do that, if you think I've done a good job here, done you some service, let me know and let others know. Subscribe when you're ready. Hit the bell button so you can get notifications. And you can join me on my Facebook groups, which I'll post in the description. And that's pretty much all that's going on right now. There's more coming. Thanks for your time and your attention, and I will see you again next time.